One of the most powerful safety tools in any organization, your words. De-escalation isn't just for security personnel. It's for every employee across every organization, and it's easier to learn than most people think. So team, de-escalation is one of our most requested trainings. This is something we do all the time. We have spent a lot of time dissecting this over and over and over again so it's digestible for our end user, for our learners. What do you find most beneficial about how we teach it, who we teach it to, and why?
That's a good question. How we teach it, I think we look through the lens of the individual, the ones that have to use these skills, which is everybody. But, looking at it from the end user's perspective, rather than just sharing concepts, we adapt it to how it will roll out day to day.
Yeah, customize it for their environment, their specific challenges. And so we really kind of get ahead of that. And I think that's so important. We've talked, in previous episodes about scenario-based training. And I think, going through the process and trying to actually use the skills, it's one thing to be like, say this or say that, or, when you're on the phone with a customer service representative and I'm like, hey, I feel like you're just reading this and it doesn't feel sincere. I think, that's one of the problems that people have with de-escalation, but when you break it down and make it really clear and user-friendly and people understand how to apply it to their day-to-day, they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Corey, talk to me a little bit about conflict in the workplace, because it's not always a bad thing. It can be a good thing, but people are really uncomfortable around this topic.
Yeah, conflict can absolutely be a good thing, right? We want to make sure we're getting the full spectrum of ideas, right? If we all just got along all the time and we agreed on everything, you're probably not going to, be all that productive realistically, right? You're not going to be, pushing limits, coming up with new stuff all the time. So that conflict is expected, but it's the ability to, and realistically, what I think is probably one of the most significant things when it comes to de-escalation is being able to just put your ego aside and not feeling the need to be correct all the time, right? We have so much of a difficult time with that, especially in industries where, people are put in positions of authority. And even if they have like the law enforcement or something, the law backing them, it's very easy for your ego to get involved, especially like when you're correct. But being able to put that ego aside and be able to have a normal conversation with somebody and seeing them as a person is so, so important, right? And it's something that we struggle with every day.
Yeah, and that's why, I said at the beginning, it's for every employee across all organizations, because a lot of times this type of training is poured into the leadership. And really, the reality is, as leaders, you're kind of brought into most situations as the person there to resolve it, right? So it's easy to walk into a situation. If you two were arguing, it's like, hey, I'm the manager in this situation. I'm the leader. I'm here to fix it. I'm here to solve it. But, as employees, what we see, especially in our industries, in the customer service industry, people are starting to feel powerless. And, when I was in that industry, it was something where it's like, you just get really fed up and you're tired of being talked to a certain way. You're tired of being talked down to. You're tired of people talking at you or complaining about the brand and everything else. And it's like, hey, I'm just here to check out your groceries. If you think I had anything to do with this big corporate policy, right? But people don't see you as that. They see you as a representation of that bad experience, of that brand. And I think that's a really hard thing to kind of get across to all of your employees, because it's so easy to take it personal. It's so easy. I mean, I remember almost every time where somebody was screaming in my face, yelling at me, pointing their finger. But as a manager, when I was in that role, walking into a situation, it's like, hey, I'm here to help. It's easy to kind of detach and not take it personal and be there to solve the problem. But what I see is, when we're doing this with managers and leaders, they want to skip the whole part where you connect with somebody. And they want to go right into, I'm sorry, can I give you your money back? I'm sorry, can I give you a gift card? I'm sorry, can I give you a free night stay? Whatever it is. They want to just solve it as quickly as possible. Now, if this is one of your employees Again, if we take this all the way back to when a grievance forms, people want to feel heard and understood. And so you can't skip the part where people are kind of venting, where people are expressing how they feel, where you're connecting with them, you're building rapport. If these are customers, it only takes a couple of minutes. If they're employees, that's a really good thing. You just built rapport with your employee. You just built that trust. You bridge that communication gap. But what are some things that you guys see, in these organizations that we train?
I was just wondering, like, what are the couple of skills that kind of rise to the top for everybody, or the techniques that really facilitate, that de-escalation based on you saying that? And I mean, you said it in part. It's like when people really understand that others want to be heard and understood and practice that, like if that's your approach to conversation, it's hard to argue with that. Somebody might still be heated, but it's hard to argue with somebody that actually has a posture towards the conflict or the conversation to, like, no, I want to understand you. I want to understand what you're going through or challenged with or whatever it is.
Yeah. And the misnomer with that is people think you have to agree with the person and you don't. You're just listening. It's that active listening piece. Yeah.
Well, actually, I was going to talk active listening too. It's easy to understand that people can get extremely busy in their day-to-day life. At work, they have stuff going on. They have problems that they need to deal with. They're trying to, deal with customers, clients, vendors, whatever it happens to be. And the active listening part isn't necessarily happening. So someone's coming to you escalated with a grievance, and you're not necessarily stopping what it is that you're doing, putting your focus into them, having a real, genuine conversation with what's going on with them. Instead, it's quite often it gets, brushed under the rug. Yeah, I can see you're upset. We'll deal with it later. Or just deal with it and get back to work, right?
Especially in those industries where you have like healthcare, right? Or public facing organization where they are dealing with customers. Well, for the customer, it's their one experience, where the person they're dealing with probably, they might have had that experience 5 times in a single day,
Right.
And they get jaded or numb. And, so you're asking them, it's like, yeah, give it all the heart, give it the empathy and, take the time to actively listen. But it's like, that has to be a real cognitive thing to, like, take the time to slow down, because how easy can it be sometimes just be like, you know what? Let me tell you how I feel.
I'm done.
Let me tell you what's been going on.
Because what we see often is people do have that breaking point. And there's that point where it's like, I'm not taking it anymore. No, I'm tired of feeling powerless. I'm going to take back that control. And usually what that looks like is an incident happens, right? Is now you have this screaming match, or now you have objects being thrown, or things get physical. But the coolest part that I see about de-escalation, the end game of it, is you're giving employees the power back, because now they know, instead of taking it personal, instead of me focusing on all the harsh words you're saying, I now have skills and tools that I can focus on, versus sitting there and eating on every single word and overthinking every single word you're saying to me and taking it personal and trying to rationalize it in my head. Like, I didn't have anything to do with this policy. Why are you yelling at me? I just work here. I just get paid by the hour, or whatever the case might be. So I love seeing people walk away from this training feeling empowered. They walk up with their shoulders a little bit higher, like, oh, there are things we can do, and taking back some of that power and control. And then also, this is, where we look at, not just the workforce, not just, our society. It's now this big problem where where we used to rest right here, we're resting a little bit higher these days, and we see it in people. And it doesn't take long before we're kind of pushed over that limit. And so if everybody kind of had these de-escalation skills, we could de-escalate and kind of get down to the problem before everything forms and it sits there and it festers. And then the next time it happens, you're even more elevated, and the next, right? So what do you think organizations can do to get ahead of these conflicts in the workplace? What do you think they should do? What do you think they should focus on? How often should you receive de-escalation training? What exactly does it look like?
The thought that came to mind based upon what we were even just talking a moment ago is taking a team approach where, looking after those on our left and right. Like, if, let's say you're in a call center, or you are in sales, customer service, whatever, and you're in a position that's prone to be berated all the time. It's like, well, noticing whether you're a manager or even a colleague, it's like, maybe I've had a good day. Let me take a couple of your calls. Or if I know there's a heated situation, it's like, I could take that one. So it kind of keeps the overall level of tension lower for individuals. So somebody can come in, they're a little more clear-headed, they're a little more objective, or a little more detached from the issue at hand. I just think that could be like kind of the team approach to it. But individually, so much of it is with the nonverbals and the physical posture, and it's your sincerity that you approach it with. Like, so how much is it where it's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. You know what I mean? And how you get that communication across.
I just want to dive into quickly just kind of the meat and potatoes. Like, if you were to give somebody one or two skills from active listening, because we say active listening, be present in the conversation, but what does that actually mean? What is one or two skills that you think are so important to this process?
This process?
Oh, you're
Yeah,
doing
here
it
we
right
are.
now. Funny.
A couple things. So, I mean, sometimes we can get the first part of listening correct, where it's keeping our mouth closed, actually listening to what they have to say, absorbing what they're saying, and internally trying to understand it. Like, and the empathy piece is trying to put yourself in their shoes, and visualize, like, okay, where are they coming from with this? Why might they be saying what they're saying?
What
What's
experiences
their
have they had? Yep.
experience? Yep. So that's the listening piece. And then the ability to round that out. Like, the other part of active listening is that, okay, can I now articulate to you in my own words what you just communicated to me? Because then what I'm doing is I'm demonstrating to you that I understand what you just said.
Or I'm at least attempting to.
Or at least I'm attempting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Corey, how big of a role do you think ego plays in this whole de-escalation active listening process?
Yeah, I personally think that's probably the most significant thing too, is being able to check that ego and not necessarily needing to be right. Especially, like, Jake said earlier, like, if you as a manager or even frontline employee, you've dealt with the situation 100 times. You know exactly how to fix the situation. Somebody else happens to come in heated, your instinct is to want to fix the problem. And often, if they're emotionally elevated, they don't necessarily care about fixing the problem. They want to be heard. And because you're right and your ego just can't get let go of that, you tend to escalate the situation also. So be able to check it and bring it down a little bit and be like, okay, this is not about me being correct right now. This is about that person being heard. You're much more able to do that active listening technique. That, and I think too, there's people understanding where de-escalation fits into the big picture of, workplace violence, right? That de-escalation might not necessarily seem like a big thing at the time. It can maybe be a very insignificant thing, and that person's going to walk away mad, upset, and you're both upset, whatever that is. But that might have been the catalyst. That might have been that one grievance that's going to make them come back, or maybe not come back. Maybe they're going to go across the street and do something there, right? That's the catalyst. That's that pathway to violence we're looking at. Understand that there's a bigger picture there too. I think it's extremely important. Yeah.
How do you, when you're talking to people about, like, checking ego, like, what kind of process do you talk them through to do that?
Checking your ego, there has to be a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And just like your day-to-day interactions, and being aware of what it is you're saying and why you're saying it, right? It's, do I want to feel like I need to look correct? Do I need to feel like I am the authority here? What is it that I'm trying to gain from this? And realistically, you need to be playing the bigger pictures. Like, what you want out of this is everyone to feel seen and heard, and the grievance to not form, right? That's much more important than being correct in the moment. But just having that awareness, like, okay, what is my motivation here? Am I just trying to use my authority and my knowledge to make them feel a little bit smaller? Am I just recording this, like the equivalent of, am I just trying to get clicks out of this because it makes me feel good, right? We just have that awareness.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, and I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up here. So you heard it here first. There's a lot of good reasons why every organization should kind of empower all of their employees with these de-escalation skills. bring it into your everyday challenges, create those scenarios around it. If you want to learn more, please reach out to us at cpps.com. Comment in this post. We'd love to hear your feedback and how you're implementing these de-escalation strategies. Stay tuned for more.